Welcome back to my channel. What if I tell you there's a fallen angel that returned to heaven? I'm going to spell his name because I can't pronounce it. Namtael. Angel fell from heaven but returned. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we?
Fallen angel who defied hell itself not to conquer, but to return home in the vast chronicles of heavenly rebellion. We know the stories of Lucifer, the Watchers, and the eternal war between light and darkness. But hidden beneath the veil of forbidden texts and obscure angelology lies the name Namtael angel, whose journey challenges everything we thought we knew. Banished alongside Lucifer, Namtael wandered the desolate realms, tormented not by pride or vengeance, but by an unbearable longing for the presence of God. His name is whispered in the shadows, erased from sacred scrolls, because his return to heaven wasn't just a redemption, it was a rebellion against rebellion itself. Why did Lucifer fear Namtael's return? What secret path did Namtael take back into heaven's courts? And what does his journey mean for us creatures caught between sin and grace? In this video, we uncover the forbidden journey of the fallen angel who chose repentance over pride, and whose story terrifies the forces of darkness to this very day. The forgotten name among the fallen in the vast archives of ancient angelic lore. One name appears only in whisper. It is not listed among the mighty archangels nor counted among the Watchers who fell at Mount Hermon. He is not a prince like Lucifer, nor a monster like Azazel. He is ... Namtael, the Forgotten One, the anomaly, the fallen angel who dared to walk back into heaven. Unlike the rebellion of Lucifer, which was loud, defiant, and apocalyptic, Namtael's fall was quiet, subtle, almost unnoticed by the hosts of heaven. He did not raise his sword against God. He did not chant war cries against the Almighty. Instead, he simply drawn away not by pride, but by doubt. Namtael was once an angel of record and remembrance, a chronicler of divine justice. He stood among the throne room scribes, recording the actions of men and angels alike. His name, some believe, means God's memory, or record of the divine. But something changed in him when he began to observe the inconsistencies of creation. He saw the rise of empires built on blood. He recorded the cries of the innocent, the cruelty of man, the silence of heaven in moments of deep pain. And in time, he began to question not out of arrogance, but heartbreak. Why does the Most High allow such sorrow? Why are the righteous slain and the wicked made kings? And so, slowly, without fury or flames, Namtael descended not to wage war, but to seek understanding. He walked among the fallen, hoping to find the answer in the depths. But the further he went, the more heaven faded from his heart. The angels of rebellion welcomed him not because he was one of them, but because he wasn't. He was different. He did not thirst for power like Lucifer, nor did he revel in corruption like the Nephilim fathers. Namtael simply observed. Lucifer watched him closely. This one was dangerous. He knew not because of hatred, but because of his unbroken faith. Namtael still believed. Even in the pit, he clung to some distant thread of the divine. He did not curse God. He did not mock heaven. He merely waited, listening, remembering, and then, one day Namtael vanished. Even the demons didn't see him leave. There was no flash of light, no battle, just silence. Lucifer's spies searched the outer rim of Sheol and the deepest caves of Abaddon, but found nothing. It was as if the shadows had released him. When news reached heaven that one of the fallen was missing, there was confusion. How could such a return even be possible? The laws were clear. Those who fell were barred forever from the presence of the Holy One. But then came the whisper from the seraphim. A voice has been heard in the outer courts, a voice not heard in ages, a name once forgotten, has returned with repentance in its breath. Namtael had come back. Namtael's descent into the abyss was not a fall of violence or chaos, it was a deliberate surrender. He allowed himself to be cast from the heavens, not out of rebellion, but in response to a divine mystery that burned in his heart like a flame no angel had ever known. While others fell with hatred, pride, or corruption in their wings, Namtael fell with sorrow. He did not war against God. He grieved the war itself. And for this reason, his descent was not marked by thunder or flame but silence, a silence that echoed through the heavens. When he opened his eyes upon the earth, the world was still young. The rivers had not yet memorized their paths, and the stars trembled with newness. Namtael wandered this virgin earth like a phantom, unseen by man and beast. He walked among the ruins of Eden, which even in decay shimmered with the memory of glory. He observed humanity from afar, not as a tempter or deceiver, but as one who mourned what was lost. His heart broke as he watched men forge swords from the beauty of creation and build altars to hollow gods, echoing Lucifer's original deception. You shall be as gods. Namtael spoke to no one. He remained hidden for centuries, walking among shadows, recording the scenes of men not for judgment, but for intercession. He still bore within him a shard of heaven, a longing to return not for himself, but to beg on behalf of the race that had been deceived. But heaven was sealed. The gates that had once opened to song and incense now shut like stone against the fallen. And though Namtael had never cursed the name, his wings were still torn, his light still dimmed, and his name struck from the heavenly record. It was in the desert of Ur that Namtael first heard the whispers. Other fallen ones had sensed his presence. They mocked him, called him the penitent. They hated his silence, his refusal to join their schemes. For the fallen seek company in corruption. A lone soul that resists it is an offense. And Lucifer, once prince of the morning, was no longer silent. He sent visions into the night, dreams of torment, distortions of truth. Namtael resisted, but each night the assault grew darker, deeper, more personal. Lucifer, who had seduced nations and contended with archangels, now regarded Namtael as a threat, not because of strength, but because of hope. For if one fallen could return, then the myth of irredeemable exile would be shattered. The rebellion would be weakened, not by war, but by repentance, and that terrified the adversary. Namtael's turning point came in a vision. As he wandered near Mount Horeb, he was enveloped in fire, but not the consuming fire of judgment. It was the fire of revelation. In the flames, he saw the future, a cross upon a hill, blood spilling into dust, and the heavens torn open once more. He saw the face of a man glowing with divine light, pierced, crowned, crucified, and in the eyes of that man, Namtael recognized the Word, the very logos he had once worshipped in the courts of the Almighty. He fell to his knees not as an angel, not as a fallen, but as a servant, and he wept, for he understood now that heaven was not only holy, it was merciful, that the heart of God was not merely fire and law, but love so fierce it would descend into flesh, into death, into the grave, just to call back the lost. This revelation burned away the last residue of despair in him, and in that moment the skies opened not physically, but spiritually. He could sense the throne once more, feel the pull of the divine, and though no voice spoke, he understood. Repentance was not a weakness, it was a door, but returning would not be easy. The fallen do not ascend by wings, they ascend by wounds. Namtael began his journey, not upward, but downward into the hearts of men. He served anonymously, appearing in dreams, comforting the broken, whispering truth where lies had taken root. He became a secret guardian, a ghost of grace. Not all heard him, but some did. A widow near Babylon, a boy in Jerusalem, a Roman soldier before the crucifixion. Namtael never claimed glory, never sought acknowledgement. He simply planted seeds of hope, scattered like light across a dark field. And still, Lucifer hunted him. The closer Namtael came to divine favor, the more violent the assaults became. Nightmares, accusations, temptations. At one point, Lucifer himself appeared not as a horned beast, but in the form of light. He offered Namtael restoration, glory, thrones in the underworld. Return to your kind, he hissed. You are one of us. Heaven has no room for traitors to their own. Namtael responded with only 4 words, I am not yours. With that, Lucifer's mask fell, and the full fury of the fallen was unleashed. But Namtael did not fight as angels do. He endured. He bore the attacks, not with strength, but with surrender. And the more he absorbed, the more he glowed not with his own light, but with the reflection of the one he had seen in the vision. At last, the moment came. He stood again at the place where he had first fallen. Time had passed, but eternity had circled back. The skies trembled. A voice ancient in new code, not in sound, but in spirit, returned. And with those words, Namtael was lifted not by force, but by mercy. His torn wings were mended, not by might, but by grace. He ascended not with the legions, but alone like a flame rising from ashes. When he entered the outskirts of the heavenly realm, the angels paused. Even Michael looked upon him with wonder, for never before had one who fell returned. Never had repentance undone the exile. Namtael did not speak. He simply knelt, and from the throne, a figure rose not, distant, but near, the same face from the vision, the same eyes filled with sorrow and glory, the Lamb who had been slain. And he approached Namtael, lifted him gently, and said, "You are never forgotten." In that moment, all of heaven rejoiced, not with thunder or trumpet, but with awe, for grace had done the impossible. And in the chambers of eternity, a new record was written, not of a war, but of return, not of judgment, but redemption. Namtael became a silent witness in the heavens, a testimony to every soul who believed they were too far gone, too broken, too lost. His name, once erased, was now etched in light, and Lucifer, in his throne of counterfeit fire, trembled. For if one could return, others might follow. Namtael's return sent ripples through the celestial realm. The very air of heaven shimmered with an energy that hadn't been felt since the morning stars first sang together. The angels, both seraphim and cherubim, watched in awe and silence as he walked, not as the one who fell, but as one who bore the marks of eternity and repentance. Heaven had never known such a precedent. There were protocols for rebellion, there were laws for loyalty, but there was no record, no decree, no prophecy about a fallen one returning. Gabriel, the archangel of God's mighty messages, approached Namtael in silence. His eyes scanned the scars upon the fallen one's wing, scars that no longer bled, but burned faintly with a strange, golden fire. "Ye passed through the flames," Gabriel whispered, "but what lies beyond them?" Namtael's eyes, darkened by millennia of sorrow and fire, lifted to meet Gabriel's. "Beyond the flames, there is no law but love, no fear, no pride, only the will to see the face of God again." He paused, "and to endure the burning gaze of truth." Then came Michael, the great warrior of the Lord, not with a sword but with silence. He did not embrace Namtael, nor did he accuse. He stood, searching the soul of the one who once stood beside him in the armies of heaven, and later chose a path none dared to follow. Michael's question cut sharper than any blade. "Why did you return?" Namtael looked down. "Because I remembered." That answer haunted heaven. What had he remembered? Was it the harmony of the celestial song, the quiet joy of obeying the divine, or perhaps, deeper still, the echo of God's breath that first gave him life? None could know, yet the answer reverberated through eternity. Lucifer, too, heard the tremor of Namtael's return. From his dark throne, built upon the ruin of angelic pride, Lucifer watched as heaven opened its gates to one he deemed lost. Rage twisted his countenance, but beneath it stirred an ancient fear that perhaps he had miscalculated eternity. He's broken the decree. Lucifer roared to his inner court. No one returns. No one leaves the pit once they've embraced the fall. Beelzebub trembled, but he didn't embrace the fall. He wept in it, and now he walks in glory. Blasphemy. Lucifer spat. There is no glory after rebellion. But even as he spoke, shadows within his court wandered. For if Namtael, the silent one, the watcher who once refused to act in the rebellion, could return, then what of them? Had they, too, acted in blindness? Had they followed a deceiver into a war that had no victory? The halls of hell echoed with unrest. Meanwhile, in heaven, Namtael's presence sparked debate among the loyal. Some angels feared what he represented, the overturning of divine order. Others saw in him a mysterious fulfillment of mercy, the kind of mercy that defied comprehension, a mercy that could only come from the mind of God. Namtael did not speak often. He walked the golden streets quietly, visiting the places he once knew, the pools of divine reflection, the towers of praise, the mount where the names of angels were inscribed in fire. But it was in the chamber of silence where even angels removed their wings in reverence that he knelt and waited, and God came. Not in thunder, not in whirlwind, but in stillness. The throne blazed in white light, brighter than 10,000 suns, and Namtael bowed so deeply that time seemed to halt. A voice like rivers and stars and winds and morning spoke. "Why did you return, Namt?" And again he whispered, "Because I remembered." What did you remember? That your love is older than your wrath. All of heaven stood still, for no angel had ever dared say such words. Yet it was truth eternal and undying. Wrath came because love was violated. But love existed before time, before light, before angels were named. Namtael continued, "I was lost in fire, but the memory of your presence endured. In the screams of the abyss, in the echo of rebellion, there was still a thread that led back to you, and I followed it, though it seared my soul. The voice said, "And now." Namtael lifted his head, his eyes glowing with divine sorrow and joy. "Now I ask for no throne, no restoration, only a place to bow, forever." And the Lord said, "Let it be so." And thus Namtael became the silent witness of heaven's deepest truth. He stood behind no veil, beside no choir. He took no sword, no trumpet. He walked the fringes of paradise as the one who remembered and, because of that memory, returned. Lucifer's fury knew no end. He summoned dreams into nightmares, and mortals began to feel his anger. Stories twisted. The name Namtael was scrubbed from scrolls, lost in apocrypha, buried beneath generations of doctrine. The churches never spoke of him. The rabbis, the mystics, the scribes, they all forgot. But in the quiet hearts of seekers, in the dreams of broken men and women who knew they had once fallen, there flickered the tale of a whispering wind, of a returning light. Namtael's story lived on in symbols in the firebird, in the lone star returning to the sky, in the tale of the prodigal son. Every culture echoed it, though they knew not his name. And today, his name rises again, not to glorify rebellion, but to exalt redemption. His legacy is not in power, but in mercy, because in the story of Namtael lies the greatest mystery of all, that even among the fallen, some still carry the spark of heaven. And if they remember, they, too, may find the path back to the throne. Namtael's journey is more than a forgotten tale. It is a divine warning and a powerful reminder. Even those who fall can rise again if their heart truly seeks the light. His return was not through battle or force, but through surrender, humility, and a love that could not die. While Lucifer clings to pride, Namtael became a symbol of hope for angels and for humanity. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear